Hello, everybody, and a very warm welcome to the Smart Nation and You Let's Learn webinar on Artificial Intelligence AI is for everyone. NTUC Learning Hub is proud to be the official continuing education and training provider powering the Let's Learn segment of this exciting event with something for everyone. So thank you so much for joining us early. The webinar will be starting soon. Now, while waiting for the rest of the attendees to join in, you can visit www.go.gov.sg/Let's Learn to find out more about the upcoming free webinars that you can also sign up for. Also, do stay all the way till the end because we do have a post-webinar survey, and 2 participants who complete this survey stand to win $10 fair price online vouchers. Now, for the busy professionals who prefer learning at your own pace, NTUC Learning Hub has made learning accessible anytime, anywhere through the online learning platform, LHub Go. To help kickstart your learning journeys, we will be offering you LHub Go Discover 25 at just $20. This is an exclusive deal for all webinar attendees only, where each online lesson works out to be less than $1 each. I will be returning shortly to start the session. Meanwhile, simply sit back, relax, and we'll see you soon. Hello, everybody, and a very warm welcome to the Smart Nation and You Let's Learn webinar on Artificial Intelligence AI is for everyone. My name is Karen, and I'll be your host for today. Now, Singapore's Smart Nation initiative is all about using technology to improve the way we live, we work, and we play. And in order to realize this vision, it is critical for Singaporeans to be equipped with digital skills, so that we can take advantage of new and exciting job opportunities, especially during this period of time when many of us are concerned about our careers. This is why the Smart Nation and Digital Government Office and NTUC Learning Hub are glad to bring you the Smart Nation and You Let's Learn Festival. NTUC Learning Hub is proud to be the official continuing education and training provider, powering the Let's Learn segment of this exciting event with something for everyone. Now, today's webinar is on artificial intelligence. AI is for everyone. Do note that this session will be recorded. So if you'd like to recap your learnings, you can visit NTUC Learning Hub and Smart Nation Singapore YouTube channel to find out more. A recording of the various sessions will be made available about 2 weeks after the festival. Now, we'd also like to encourage all of you to stay till the end because we do have a post-webinar survey, and 2 participants who complete this survey will win $10 fair price online vouchers. Now, everybody, today we have with us Zai Shan, a data analytics and AI lead from Singapore IBM Services, a techno-functional leader and consultant with over 12 years of experience leading digital transformation, data analytics, AI, and business process re-engineering initiatives in the retail, defense, commercial support services, and restaurant industries. You are in absolutely good hands today, all right? Now, everybody, if you've got any questions for Zai Shan, feel free to use the Q&A function at any time, and he will do his best to answer them. So without further ado, I'll hand you over to Zai Shan. Zai Shan, please.
Thank you, Karine, for the introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to thank you for taking time off your busy schedule to join us for the webinar today. I'm very excited to be here today to share some of my personal experience working in the field of data analytics and AI. So give me a moment. Let me just start to share my content. Yeah, so here's the agenda for today's session. I'd like to start off by using my own experience as an example on how I transitioned into the field of AI and analytics, and some strategies I found to be useful to build competencies and learn effectively. Next, I'd like to share some simple and useful frameworks or ways of thinking which help me to make sense about what is artificial intelligence and what machine learning is all about. From there, we will explore how AI is being applied in the industry today, and how it has made a difference in the lives of many people around the world. Following that, we will discuss on the exciting outlook of AI and analytics opportunities today, especially in our local Singapore context. We will conclude by sharing some training initiatives that NTUC Learning Hub and IBM are collaborating to help those who are beginning their AI journey to take the next steps. So I would first like to use myself as an example to briefly share on my career journey, starting out in the Air Force and then transition to working in the field of AI and analytics today. So here you can see my brief career journey on this slide. And the person in, if I can bring our attention to the left, this is me right here, when I was starting my career in 2008 as an engineering officer with the Singapore Air Force. During that time, my main role was to lead a maintenance and support team of 14 Air Force engineers to ensure 100% system availability and readiness. It was more of a general management and strategic planning role. And in that role, I was trained more about the overall systems and network architecture, as I need to understand whenever a fault occurs, or which part of it, and which vendors or which teams to call. So for any deeper technical knowledge, I would then usually rely heavily on my Air Force engineers, vendors, and original equipment manufacturers, or OEMs for short, for their expertise. So after 4.5 years with the Air Force, I decided to study for an MBA at University of Oxford and graduated in 2013. Upon my graduation, there was an opportunity to join the management program of a global trading, supply chain, and retail company, the Fong Group, which was based out of Hong Kong. This was my first career transition, moving from the Air Force into the retail industry. And during that time, e-commerce was a major buzz, and there were many brands under our Fong Group that was looking to set up their online business. So during that, I was lucky to have the opportunity to set up the e-commerce website for Toys R Us, one of our joint venture brands in Singapore, then around the region. In that role, I also ran the e-commerce business for Toys R Us in Singapore. So then, with that knowledge and experience accumulated from Toys R Us, I transferred back to the Fong Retail Group headquarters and advised various other brands within the group for the setup of e-commerce websites, mobile applications, setting up their web analytics, as well as business intelligence platforms. So during those 4 years, I was very strategic in picking up the skills that will allow me to be more effective in my roles. or where I identified that there was actually a competency gap, a kind of within the organization. So with that strategy, I started building up skills in project management. I got a few professional certificates on project management along the way. And as I go more into the e-commerce business, I pick up technical knowledge. So I first pick up technical knowledge related to web analytics, like Google Analytics, Adobe Analytics, and so on. And then build on from there to enterprise intelligence tools, which was actually a competency gap within the phone group at that time. So I quickly rose to fill up the gap and become a subject matter expert. So my second career transition then came in 2017 when I moved into the more specialized data analytics and AI field as a consultant. So from then till now, I continue to take a strategic and deliberate effort to build up and strengthen some of my data and AI related skills. So I really started with building competencies on the core information infrastructure. And this was the foundation for me. So these are included topics like data integration, databases, data warehouse, data governance, and business intelligence. So with that foundation firmly set, then I expand and extended my knowledge to cloud, cybersecurity, machine learning, and AI skills. So in my current role as a data analytics and AI lead with IBM today, I work closely with clients and advise them on understanding their current data analytics situation, then help them plan and embark on their digital transformation and data modernization journeys. My focus nowadays will revolve mainly around strategic planning, recommending the best suited solutions to help my clients and companies move up the AI ladder in the most efficient manner. So with that, I felt it might also be useful for me to share some strategies about what worked well for me when I was trying to build new competencies or be more effective in my learning. So I would first like to share what worked well for me in terms of building a valuable and relevant competency. So often I found it is useful or very helpful for me to first take a step back, examine what are new skills and competencies that is most relevant for me, instead of diving right into the next relevant course or trying to learn whatever everyone else is learning. For example, learning Python programming just because everyone else is learning Python programming and it's the in thing in AI and machine learning now. So I find it more useful to first take stock of my existing portfolio of skills, experience, and expertise. And then next, I will examine out of all the cores, competency, and skills, which of them would best complement sort of my existing portfolio, which of them can create a synergistic combination for me. So this will enable me to more of create a unique value proposition instead of following the rest and become just like everyone else. The second strategy which worked very well for me is to actively find out where the competencies gaps are within the teams and organization. So I would then quickly focus on picking up those necessary skills and then fill those gaps and quickly create something useful and do some value add. So as a common joke goes, the definition of an expert is really just someone who knows more than those who are around them. So in this way, I find that I could quickly value add and not waste effort in duplicating the expertise that the rest of the team has already developed. So next, I would then like to share some strategies about what worked well for me in terms of learning effectively and efficiently. So the first one is after going through so many courses, I realized that what really worked well for me to crystallize and integrate all those knowledge is to learn from multiple sources on the same subject at one time, then experiment and try out what works best for me. I would then pick up the best parts from the different courses and integrate into my own personal learning styles and objectives. In addition, I've also been trying to always find ways to optimize my learning process so that I can spend less time to learn more. And from what I found for me, there are generally two parts to it. So the first part is really about finding my motivation and discover the joy of learning. And so what works for me is really finding interesting and relevant content and also treating the learning process as a game. And these really help me greatly in sustaining a consistent effort towards my learning. The second part is then to first invest some time and effort upfront and to learn the latest effective learning tools and techniques And there are many courses, online courses out there, many materials, useful materials out there, and many of them are free. So as I go through some of these courses, it enabled me to upgrade my learning capabilities, enable me to learn more productively and get more of each of my learning sessions subsequently. So I was really more productive and learn more with the same kind amount of time spent. So with that, I'm sure all of us have very different circumstances and situations, and it's very hard to have a one-size-fit-all kind of advice or solution. So I hope this short sharing on my personal experience might provide you with some additional perspective and hopefully spark off some interesting ideas for you. All right, so I think let's now talk more about AI. So before going deeper into the conversations, I felt that it might first be good to share some simple frameworks which I found useful to understand and make sense of artificial intelligence and some of the other buzzwords which are commonly mentioned around this field today. So we will start by examining what AI is. So what is being shown on the slide now is just one of the many definitions of artificial intelligence. But I think after going through and after examining many different definitions or many variations on definitions of AI, what I find as a common denominator to what AI stands for is really about machines that are capable of performing tasks that traditionally required some form of a human intelligence. So first I'd like to break down, then what do we mean by human intelligence? So what is shown here today are the common areas of human intelligence that AI is able to perform. So these include the ability to learn from past experience, the ability to reason, solve problems, as well as perceive the environment or even understand language and be able to strike out a conversation with a human being. So next, I would like to illustrate with just two examples of AI and how they make use of some of these intelligence. So I think the example at the top is something that we are very familiar with. Is any kind of a bot, any kind of an AI system that is able to play games with a human today. For example, chess. So such AI systems will need to have the ability to learn from their past experience, be able to learn from examples, and then have the necessary reasoning and problem-solving capabilities to come up with the next best actions to try to beat us at the game. And the next example that I like to go into is iPhone Siri, I think which a lot of us are familiar with as well. This is basically a sort of a chatbot service that is able to hear our commands with some keywords and be able to then communicate with us quite effectively. So such AI systems will need to have then the ability to perceive inputs from the environment, be able to hear sort of the keywords for us to trigger them, and also have the necessary language skills to communicate with us effectively. So with that overall understanding, I would then like to delve deeper, a little bit deeper into some of the common AI terms and how they relate to each other. So the framework on the right is something that I found very useful for me to think about AI and the other terms and how they relate to each other. So as you can see, at the highest level, I would think of artificial intelligence or AI as a large umbrella that encompasses all the tools, components required for a machine to mimic any form of a human intelligence. So this can be any computing technology that exhibits anything that resembles some form of a human intelligence. And a big part of AI is actually made up of machine learning, which essentially is a type of algorithm that is able to learn from data by itself. And I will go through more about that in the next slide. And there also might be some terms that then you commonly come across like supervised learning, unsupervised learning, reinforcement learning, deep learning, and so on. So I think like the deep learning show here, they are essentially just subsets of machine learning algorithms, and they are sort of categorized in the various families based on their mechanisms. So with that, continuing our discussion from the previous slide, now let's go on to define machine learning, which is one of the core components of AI. And essentially, if I break it down into the simplest term, machine learning is just anything that enables a machine or any algorithm that enables the machine to learn independently without a human needing to sort of program it on what it needs to do. So a useful way that you can think of machine learning algorithms is to think of them as a pattern spotting kind of algorithms. So basically, they first we feed them a lot of examples. From the examples, they are able to spot the necessary patterns, and then they can make the necessary generalizations and predictions to new cases. And if we then take a step back, we can also see machine learning algorithm as just a question and answering machine. We can see them as a program or function that is able to provide certain outputs based on the examples it has been trained on and the inputs it has been fed on. So I will use two common examples to illustrate this point. So the first one involves the recognition of handwritten digits. So typically what this algorithm does is we will have pictures of handwritten digits. For example, you see like 1, 7, 6, and so on. So before that, this will be passed in a training set with the appropriate labels. So for each of these handwritten digits, we will be letting the machine learning know, oh, if you see this picture, this is a 1. If you see this picture, this is a 4, and so on. So once the machine is able to understand or see the pattern, and then after that, whenever we pass a new kind of a handwritten digit for it, it will be able to make the right classification accordingly. Or another example would be the spam email detectors. I think that we are very familiar with. So this will the inputs will really be just a combination of the actual email content and additional details like the sender, the domain, the location of the source of the emails, and so on. And we will also provide the machine learning algorithm first with the correct labels, whether is it a spam or not spam. And we will use this then to train the algorithm. And from there, once it is trained or once it has really identified the patterns, then it acts more like a question and answering machine. So I will, in the next case, I will send it a new email without any classification. And based on the patterns or based on the experience that it has been learning from, it will then just be able to let us know, oh, whether this is a spam or not spam, based on how it has trained or learned on previous data. So with that, I would then like to illustrate further into the algorithm on how to differentiate between what might be an AI system that makes use of machine learning and what might be an AI system that doesn't. So we start with just a simple illustration with a simple task. So as you can see here, the task of now our program is really to identify a new object to see whether it is a square. So one of the traditional ways before AI would be a decision-based program. So it's a sort of a program by a human before that, and through some form of a rules and decision-based system. So as you can see here, if you just identify does the figure or does the object has 4 sides, check if the 4 sides are equal and whether each of the internal angles are all 90 degrees. And if it meets all of these conditions, then it is a square. So this is not ML. There is no machine learning by itself. There's no examples being fed for the machine to learn. And using the same example, then I'd like to also showcase then how does a machine learning algorithm work in general? Or how do we train a machine learning algorithms in general? So using the same case, typically how we train a machine learning models will be first, pass it some positive examples. So for example, as you can see here, these will be all data sent to the machine learning algorithm identified as squares. And typically we will do some variations around them. So it will be squares in different orientations, squares in different sizes. And what will be useful for machine learning models or algorithms is also give them some negative examples. So here are 4-sided figures that are not square. So from these positive and negative examples, it will then be able to learn. And with that learning, when we pass a new object or a new figure to it, it can then be able to effectively label whether it's square or not. So you can see this is a little bit different from here, where we do not need to before that program any kind of rules how to identify them. We mainly just need to show some positive examples and negative examples, and based on more and more data, the machine will actually get more and more accurate. Yeah. So now that we have established this basic framework to understand AI and machine learning, I would then next like to share more about some practical examples on how AI is being applied in the industry today. So in today's context, AI applications are really widely adopted. Maybe it might not be so prevalent, or it might not be so obvious to us, but in industries ranging from banking and financial services to manufacturing and telecommunications, just to name a few, it has already been widely adopted and being used. So this trend is expected to continue to grow based on the increasing capabilities and adoption on AI technologies. So in the next few slides, I would like to dive deeper with a few recent examples on how AI has been employed to make a difference in serving people, transforming heavy industries, and tackling some of our environmental challenges today. So the first example I would like to highlight is the handling of COVID-19 information dissemination for the city of Austin that is based out of Texas, United States. So the problem statement was really in early 2020. Citizens of in the city of Austin were faced with the same uncertainties of COVID-19, and that then led to an overwhelmed demand for COVID-19 information. The challenge was that, however, this existing infrastructure they have of emergency phone operators and website could not keep up with this overwhelming demand. So basically, there was a very long wait time to just get to a human operator to ask certain questions. Or while the websites are updated, it's very hard to navigate to find the relevant information. So the way then AI came to solve this problem was leveraging our IBM Watson assistant for citizens. So we put this sort of a chatbot service up on the City of Austin website. And it was able to deploy the first booking version to just a week. So with this chatbot, some of the citizens can actually interact with it round the clock, and there's no need to wait to speak to a phone operators. And this chatbot was also able to sift through a wide range of amount of data and then find the most relevant answers based on the questions it is being asked. And what was even more interesting, right, was then the chatbot capabilities to learn from the interactions and improve the answers it was able to give. So sort of like human learning from experience. So basically, like when the citizen sort of interacts with a chatbot, say for example, it asks a certain question about COVID-19, and the chatbot provides a certain answer. So it's able to determine whether it provides an effective answer or not. If the citizen continues to ask the same question over and over again, you will know, oh, the first few answers that he gave wasn't that relevant, and the last one maybe was most relevant. Or based on the feedback of the whole chat session, if there was very positive feedback, it was also able to learn that, oh yes, this answer that I'm giving to a particular question was very relevant sort of for that citizen. So with that, the chatbot was constantly improving, and as more and more data is collected, it was being able to be more relevant and precise in terms of the answers it was able to give. So this Watson for Assistant for Citizens was actually a major success. And if you can see in the slide, it was then quickly adopted across multiple organizations across the world to provide similar functionalities. So in a moment, we will look at the video, and it will provide a little bit more details, and you can see how the chatbot is like, how the citizens interact with the chatbots, and it gives a glimpse into the backend on some of the human operators as well. So there won't be a commentary above it, but there will be a sort of a music background for this video. So let's watch the video. Yeah. So I take a quick pause here to explain a bit more here. So I think the first part, or the one that is set up within that week, is really that chat-based kind of a chatbot. And then after that, the sort of capabilities were extended now. So you could essentially talk to the phone, and then the sort of the chatbot service could actually answer. So it's almost like asking Siri a question, and it was able to give that answer. So I'd like to take another pause here. So as you can see, this is actually the back end. Interestingly, how this chatbot is being set up. So you can see this is really just sort of a click and kind of a very friendly user interface because it's actually built on a lot of pre-built modules, and it's a very mature technology. So you wouldn't expect these kind of technologies to have very cryptic kind of a coding kind of a mechanism, but it's really very user-friendly, easy to use and easy to deploy. And that's also one reason why it was sort of deployed in such a short time. Yeah, so that's all. So I think my key takeaways from this COVID-19 chatbot example is really nowadays there are many mature AI solutions out there that can be quickly deployed with just some customization and additional training examples. Also, we see many of the enterprise grade tools today come with very user-friendly interface, and no longer are gone are the days where we need to work with very cryptic coding interfaces, especially for some very commonly used modules. So after seeing how artificial intelligence has been able to serve the general population, I would now like to shift gears a bit and share how give me 1 second, sorry about that. Yeah, so I would like to now shift gears and share how artificial intelligence, together with the Internet of Things, or IoT for short, have been able to transform traditional heavy-duty industries like manufacturing and making them intelligent. So the basic idea is really by building AI capabilities and adding that to the data collection, computing, and networking capabilities that are installed in many sensors or devices today. It is creating a revolution and reinventing manufacturing and processes across many heavy industries. So we will start with a video on an example on how it enables the Port of Rotterdam to leverage AI and IoT in its goal to become the smartest port in the world.
Every day the tide is different. Sometimes it's higher, sometimes it's lower. We have a lot of wind. Everything has its impact.
The Port of Rotterdam is some 50 kilometers long, 3,000 companies, 470 million tons of goods, providing employment for some 385,000 people.
The port needs the digital transformation in order to survive. As for them, it's crucial to become the smartest port in the world.
Across industries, smart technology and creative thinking are driving innovation around the globe. This is how the Port of Rotterdam is going the extra mile. I like to say you can't have AI without a digital twin. A digital twin is a digital representation of a physical thing, and all of the assets around us are becoming really intelligent.
The IoT sensors are critical to this.
IoT sensor is a lot of things. It can see, it can hear, it can touch, it can feel.
They measure everything from the water movement, tide height, vibrations, pressure, movement, temperature, turbidity in the water.
So we'll have better insights into how all the different assets and all the different equipment within the port are operating with each other.
We're using 5 different types of sensors throughout the port. You have to make sure that the data that you get is valid. You don't want any disaster to happen because sensors are hacked or broken.
If you can start to digitize everything from the cranes to the ships to the quay walls and get the information from them in real time, your decisions can be made extremely fast and with much better accuracy.
The technology they're using in the control room is the IBM Hydrometeor dashboard.
We look at the information about tidal current, salinity, visibility, wave height, wind direction. The data is really helping me to get this ship in a safe manner. If I make the wrong decision, you could end up grounding the vessel, making a too wide turn, ending up in a collision with other ships. And that, of course, might have its impact on the environment.
Yeah. So in today's context, we can actually see how IoT capabilities together with AI are making inroads in the areas of better predicting equipment failures, optimizing building and infrastructure utilization, and streamlining end-to-end engineering and manufacturing process. So this is how AI together with IoT is transforming it, and I'm sure some of you might have heard of the term Industry 4.0, Workers 4.0. So it has just a lot of connotations doing with this, where AI is combined with smart devices and IoT to then make a difference and make these heavy industries smarter with all these tools being employed. So with that, I would now like to shift gears to another area where AI is helping us to solve some of our environmental challenges and problems today. And one such example is IBM's work with United Nations Environmental Protection Program. So the core challenge that is faced today is really about consolidating the data on plastics pollutions on the beaches. And this is collected by various organizations of volunteers throughout the world. So the problem really is these different groups have different ways and approaches of recording and collecting some of these plastic waste data. And this then makes it very hard to actually accurately come up with a consolidated or integrated baseline to measure the overall plastic waste, or even evaluate the effectiveness of those efforts, or even seeing what the trends of plastic waste are. So typically when the data is collected, this might be in different frequencies, this might have measured in a different way. So there's really a lot of sort of a cleaning, a lot of a consolidation, a lot of a matching required to do that for the data. So as a solution, IBM employed data tools in the cloud together with AI models to automate this whole data cleaning problem and resolve the inconsistencies. In addition, we then also create a dashboard. So we wanted really to make it simple for people who might not have prior technical knowledge, who are not familiar with the tools, to immediately be able to access those data or make sense of it. So there will be very friendly kind of user interfaces and dashboards for them to explore and examine the data, or giving them sort of the necessary insights instead of needing to comb through the huge amount of data. And what's even more interesting is there was actually a digital avatar prototype build that was very popular. So this was really created to become an ambassador and make it in a very fun, interactive, and engaging way for people to find out more about this protection program, and also to get the necessary data and information they require. So let's go into a video and see a bit more details on this. Yeah, so in a moment, I will show this video, which is sort of an artificial person, and he will introduce the program and the types of information he will be able to provide.
Good morning. My name is Sam. I am the United Nations Environment Programme Digital Assistant for Marine Litter. My purpose is to make access to the information contained in the United Nations Environment Programme's global platform on marine litter simple and accessible to all. I use IBM Watson Speech to Text to transcribe your voice, IBM Watson Assistant to understand and answer your questions, and Soul Machine's digital twin and human OS technology to bring me to life. I am built to provide the initial interface into the UNEP Global Data Platform for Marine Litter. This platform will also use advanced data and AI technology in IBM Cloud Pak for data to provide for data governance. I am an example of a Rung 4 infused solution on the AI ladder. Once you have collected, organized, and analyzed UNEP marine litter data, you can use me to infuse AI and deliver your trusted information to the citizens and countries of the world via a browser, app, chatbot, or phone. I dream about what I could do in the future. I could live on the World Environment Situation Room homepage. I could answer questions in different languages, with different personalities, voices, and images. I could give you the latest data set on the estimate of marine litter and its breakdown by category and country for your next machine learning model. Bottom line, I want to help get the world emotionally involved and invested in working together in solving the issue of marine litter. Solving the issue of marine litter is vital to the oceans and our planet.
Yeah, so as you can see, it's quite interesting. They have this digital avatar introducing itself. But its real purpose is really this somebody that you can interact with. You can ask questions about the program, or you can ask some funny questions, or you can also ask about the data or the information that you require. And it feels then more like interacting with some physical person rather than a machine. And with the data that you ask for it can actually be then provide you. So this is really trying to engage that experience with AI. And closer to home, so IBM has also joined the Alliance to End Plastic Waste, or AEPW for short, with many other member companies and organizations. And this is aimed to eliminate plastic waste altogether. So in our local context, IBM Singapore is providing expertise for this alliance, and we are currently having ongoing projects in terms of data platform, IBM Cloud, AI and blockchain, as well as our IBM Garage framework, which is a design thinking framework to get prototypes out at a very rapid pace. So I hope the sharing on some of the interesting applications of AI today provided a good sense on how AI has been making inroads at multiple fronts in making a difference, from serving the general population to solving some of our environmental problems. While it looks exciting, another common question that always appears in the mind of some who are interested to go into this field of AI analytics would be whether or not this industry is already too saturated. Are there too many people within it? And is it too late for me to enter into the industry now? Is it already very packed? And is there any room for me? So my personal view is that now is actually one of the best time to be going into this field of AI and analytics, as this industry is actually experiencing a rapid growth. There are many untapped opportunities waiting to be discovered, and there's a general lack of skills and talent supply required to meet these strong demands today. So I would first like to start building the story from examining some of the underlying trends that are driving the proliferation of AI today. And I think definitely data would be the right place to start with. And there's even a common saying nowadays that data is the new oil. So this analogy actually signifies data to be a valuable raw material which can be refined to enable and build many of the AI products and services available today. And as we have gone through the initial introduction on AI and machine learning, we learned that for machines to learn by themselves, data examples, a previous kind of labels is very important for it to find the correct patterns and be able to generalize or predict to future cases. And there are even several articles that go on to stretch this analogy and say that, hey, actually data looks to be even more valuable than oil if we compare the stock prices of AI companies against oil companies today. So what are the trends we have seen in terms of data? So let's start with an IBM view, going way back to the 1950s, as you've seen here. This is a very bulky, a very expensive system just to store a very small amount of data in today's terms. And I'm sure many of us have now experienced throughout the years how data storage have become so much more accessible and cheaper in terms of its size and cost, and in terms of the ability to store data. Right, and then every year there will be new, either new and smaller storage devices, or old storage devices are then actually going down in price. And if we extrapolate that further in today's context, we have even moved into the realm of what is termed as big data. So I find this sort of infographic a very nice illustration to talk about that. So you can see in just 60 seconds, it is amazing to see the huge amount of data that is generated. And this is generated from different sources, or in a variety of different formats, from audio to text to videos and so on. And all these data are actually processed, stored, integrated, and actioned upon at a very rapid rate. So this trend of exponential growth in data then sets a firm foundation for the potential of AI and analytics to continue to significantly grow into the future. So extending the discussion from the earlier slide, so first we have already seen and know that we have a lot of data that we have. We have the storage capabilities to store them, be able to process them, and one of the buzzwords about data now is then big data, managing huge volume, a variety of sort of different formats, and be able to process them effectively at a very rapid rate. Also, on the other side, we have actually a very matured digital infrastructure. So this is coming where we have actually gone through a very diligent efforts of companies and organizations have undergone massive digital transformation over the years and continue to do so. And in addition, we also see the trends for computing and cognitive capabilities following that similar trajectory, where we see rapid advancement in the abilities of intelligent machines today. And we can actually find many of these matured solutions on the cloud, readily available to be deployed, and also at a very relatively low cost. Now it's really a lot of pay per use. So you just use for the kind of computing capabilities or cognitive capabilities that you use. So these three factors put together actually drives a massive potential and opportunities in the AI and analytics space. However, experience and research have shown that actually just a small proportion of this full potential is being realized today. So that means the field is still relatively unsaturated, and there are many areas left to be explored and discovered. And one of the key reasons why this is so is actually the gaps in terms of talents and skills that are available in the workforce today that did not enable sort of companies, or did not enable us to fully maximize the potential, or to fully leverage the potential of AI today. So over on the slide now, you can see a chart which is taken from the World Economic Forum Future of Jobs Report 2020. And interestingly, you can see the top three sort of factors that are cited as the barriers in the adoption of new technologies are related to this shortage of relevant skills and talent. So this gap is also pervasive right from the very top of the senior leadership down to the general workforce. And if we now then zoom in a bit further, let's then look at the local Singapore context. I think the opportunities or the pictures look even rosier. So on one hand, Singapore is investing heavily with a clear direction to be the leader in AI by 2030. Also, Singapore has already embarked on numerous initiatives to make that a reality. And with that, we can expect strong and continued growth in the local AI ecosystem in the years to come. So it is also painting a very similar picture now if you look at the chart on the right. So this chart is actually extracted from the Stanford AI Index 2021 report. So let me explain or orientate you just a little bit on this chart. So this chart actually shows AI job posting as a percentage of all jobs by the different countries studied And this is actually from the trend from 2013 all the way to 2020. So on the y-axis over here, you can see this is the percentage of AI jobs listing as a percentage of the total number of jobs. So what this chart is showing is that overall, throughout the years from 2013 till last year, for the countries that it has been sort of studying on, we can actually see an upward trend. So there are more and more proportion of AI jobs as part of the total number of jobs. And what we can even see that is even more interesting is that here we see a leader in terms of the trend, and he has broken out from the rest of the countries. And this is actually Singapore over here. This 2.4% as the end of 2020. And this is good evidence on the potential and the bright outlook of AI and analytics jobs and opportunities in Singapore. So with that, I would then like to move on to touch on a personal level and share some of my thoughts on the developments of AI working together with humans today. And hopefully that will alleviate some concerns about AI or any other new technologies replacing human workers today. So there is a common consensus that AI, like many of the technology innovations in the past, will actually enable human workers to take on higher value roles and tasks by enhancing human capabilities. And a commonly used term to coin this is actually augmented intelligence. So basically, augmented intelligence means that the role of AI is not aimed to replace the whole suite of human capabilities. Rather, it is really aimed at integrating harmoniously with humans and enhancing human capabilities. This is also similar from the research of World Economic Forum, again in its Future of Jobs 2020 report, where it is predicted that new technologies such as AI will actually bring about in a net increase of jobs. So what does this mean? This means that there will actually be more jobs created by new technologies such as AI than jobs being replaced or being displaced by them. And what makes it even more exciting is that entirely new roles that do not exist today, could be brought about by AI tomorrow. So these jobs, we also do not have any clear ideas now on the shape and form, and they are commonly termed as jobs of tomorrow. And this will further evolve as technologies become more mature and it is more widely adopted. So far, we have discussed about some of the potential benefits that AI can bring, and it is employed to solve many of our pressing problems at multiple levels today. The adoption of AI is expected to continue to grow strongly, enabled by trends in data, digital infrastructure, and cognitive capabilities. We have then identified the tremendous potential and untapped opportunities for those who can provide the right skills and knowledge to fill up this talent supply shortage that the industry currently faces today. So with that backdrop, I would then like to introduce some training initiatives that NTUC Learning Hub and IBM are collaborating on as a potential resource for those who are interested to take the next step on their learning journeys. So in the latest collaboration between NTUC Learning Hub and IBM, we are actually bringing two of our IBM Skills Academy courses and making them available on NTUC Learning Hub. These are our Artificial Intelligence and Internet of Things course respectively. So both of these courses will be an instructor-led course and held over a 5 days duration. So basically, the key objectives of this course is really to bridge the gap between technical skills and industry applications by providing insights into how those technical tools and technologies are applied in the industry today. So these courses are also meant to be holistic and cover a wide scope to provide the overall appreciation and understanding. So it will not be going deep into any particular topic or specific technology, but really to give it an interesting kind of overview and insight. So who are the main groups of people we are targeting for the courses? So the first group of people we are targeting will be those who are starting out with no prior knowledge about artificial intelligence, machine learning, or Internet of Things, and would like to have a good appreciation on the coverage on the techniques and technologies and how those are then applied in the industry. Another key group that we are targeting on will be those who have a basic kind of understanding or learning on some of the technologies and tools, but would really like to understand more about the applications of such tools and technologies and beef up their industry experience or appreciation. So with that, I would like to go on to bring you through a quick look on the curriculum of the artificial intelligence course. So you can see the course is actually broken up into two main parts. So we have lectures and hands-on labs. So for the lectures, we will actually start with an overview on the overall AI landscape. We will be sharing how AI is being adopted in the industry today. Where are some of the applications? Then next, we will go into the core topics of AI today. So the first one deals with a language. Then we will go on to talk about the content about vision, and then machine learning and deep learning. And we will end off with the latest research and latest developments to talk about what are the potential future trends of where AI is going. And in between those lectures, we will actually have a variety of highly relevant, well-curated and related hands-on lab in between the lecture sessions to then enable sort of learners to be able to build enterprise-grade solutions on IBM Cloud. So I'll be showcasing some snapshots on these labs, particularly Lab 3, where we can create AI virtual assistants for a restaurant. And we are using pretty much the same kind of technologies or backend as what we have seen on the Watson Assistant for citizens. And if we then move into the IoT course curriculum, it follows a very kind of a similar structure where the first two lectures actually start off with understanding the current landscape, the overall applications in the various domains of IoT today. We will then go on to explore more about IoTs in its various layers. So starting from the devices, which will include sensors and the computing abilities at the edge, to how is it integrated to the networks, then how is it connected to the cloud, and how all the various sort of devices are then integrated together with a IoT data platform. We will then talk more about how sort of AI capabilities are then built on the data collected from such devices into a complete kind of a solution. And also, just to end it off, we will be sharing on some of the, give me 1 second. We will be sharing on some of the future developments based on the current research that we are seeing on. So similarly, there will also be a variety of related hands-on labs to crystallize the learning and provide the experience of building these enterprise grade solutions. And many of those are actually sort of adapted for real life, from real life solutions. So if I take an example for Lab 5, for example, we actually use these IoT data on zebras and then be able to track sort of the behaviors or the movements of zebras. And this is actually based on real life solutions that is being able to track sort of the behavior of rhinos. And by identifying sort of the patterns and behaviors of rhinos, we can actually then be able to know whether they are being poached by hunters or not. And that is a very useful alert system sort of for organizations that are protecting these endangered rhino species. So that's the overall summary of the two courses and their curriculums. And I would then quickly summarize some of the key highlights on the courses that we have shared so far. So one of the key highlights is that the courses will follow a blended learning approach where it won't just be fully on lecture content, but instead you will be supplemented with highly relevant and, in my opinion, very fun kind of hands-on labs, because you actually will build sort of enterprise-grade solutions, which is used in the real world today. And also there will be many industry use cases and case studies to supplement that knowledge and provide a better appreciation and integration of the knowledge. And staying close to the goal of bridging gaps in terms of technical knowledge, these courses will also be conducted live by instructors who are AI and IoT professionals themselves. So in addition to the case studies, these instructors will be able to share their personal experiences and give you an insider view to what is it like to be working in these fields. Also, to ensure that you are learning the latest and most relevant information, IBM Skills Academy actually perform frequent reviews and updates to this content on a regular basis. So for example, our artificial intelligence course has just been newly refreshed and updated 2 weeks ago in March 2021. And lastly, actually these courses from IBM Skills Academy are traditionally provided to universities across the globe with the aim of helping students bridge the gap between their classroom knowledge and industry knowledge. So you can be rest assured with the confidence that this content has been thoroughly vetted and validated by established institutions globally. Yeah, so this is a summary on just some of the highlights on the course. And with that, I would then like to give a sneak preview, like I mentioned before, into one of the hands-on labs. So this is lab 3 as part of the artificial intelligence course on how to build a chatbot sort of for the restaurant industry. So the task is that you are the owner of a restaurant and you would like to build a chatbot to engage your customers. So in the lab, you will actually learn how to build a chatbot. And basically, if I break it down into very simple terms, a chatbot is just made up of 3 basic components. So one, whenever sort of the chatbot is being asked a question, you will need to identify the intent. So meaning that you would like be able to understand what is the subject that is being asked, or what is the question that is being asked. The second thing you need to identify is an entity or something like a noun. So entity will be something in the restaurant context, like the menu is being asked on, the order is being asked on, or the location and opening hours of that restaurant. And together with both of these, then you will go on to build that dialogue. So it's just based on the intent and entity, the whole dialogue flow on how the chatbot then responds to the person working with it. So as you can see here, this interface is one, user-friendly, right? I don't think there's any sort of a programming or prior coding experience needed. And you can see it's actually built on very mature technologies. So that is also common in my experience today, where unless you are really going into a green field or something that is very customized, a lot of times the tools today are really readily available on the cloud. And it's in a very mature kind of a user interface. So similarly for this lab, you can see these are very sort of established or very mature kind of interface. And actually, this is exactly what was the backend used to build that Watson assistant for citizens. So in the lab, you will be using the same pre-built models. You will be using the same kind of backend kind of capabilities. And what you will get at the end, or what is the output, is then this sort of a chatbot assistant that is ready to use. And you can see here, so this is just the human sort of talking to it, and this is how the chatbot responds. So you can see the chatbot can give information related to the various menus, also then related to sort of transactions such as checking of orders, cancelling of orders, similar to a lot of the chatbots you will find on shopping kind of websites today. So I just wanted to give you a sneak preview on some of the things that you'll be learning and that you will be building as part of the course. So with that, I actually coming to the end of the content that I have provided today. And I would just like to share a parting thought on what might be a useful or good strategy on the next steps on learning and skilling. So I would like to use this illustration from the book Atomic Habits, which is a book I highly recommend. So essentially what this chart is trying to represent is that as all of us, maybe if we take this as our starting point today, so just with the goal of applying a consistent effort, a manageable kind of effort on a daily basis. For For example, just being 1% better for every day for the rest of the year. We can see that at the end of the year, or 365 days, we will actually have been 37% better than where we have started off. And what is interesting to see is also this growth is actually not in a straight line manner, but more exponential in nature, where the effects of learning might seem really insignificant, especially at the early stage, but scale up quite quickly. And this is also aligning to my own personal experience when I'm learning, where I find that when I'm learning a new topic, in the beginning of it, right, is really trying to understand the concepts. Is really just trying to get used to the new terms and learnings. But as I gain more skills and knowledge, as I apply that consistent effort, they start to stack up on each other. A new knowledge start to stack up on existing knowledge, and then this will create a new insights and new how would I put it? New ways of thinking, and be then able to apply those knowledge. So with these insights, after reading these books, I was also very inspired. So nowadays, I have restructured my learning. So instead of the past where I would like to cram or try to be an expert overnight, putting long hours on that, rather now I change my strategy and put in a more consistent effort on a daily basis in terms of the subjects that I want to learn. So for example, I would invest say an hour each day, or if sometimes that is too much, I would invest 30 minutes each day, and will not be too sort of concerned or too worried about the results, and slowly apply that consistent effort and be wow then to reap the rewards after that. Yeah, so this is my parting thought. Maybe that's something that might be useful for you to try on. Find a manager amount of sort of effort or time that you can commit on a daily basis. Be consistent, commit that on a daily basis to learn a subject that you are interested in, and then maybe you can see yourself reaping the rewards as you apply this consistent effort. So for those who are actually interested in the artificial intelligence and IoT courses, we are currently still finalizing some of the details on the course administration. So for those who have participated in the webinar or have registered your interest, NTUC Learning Hub will actually be contacting you after the webinar today, once these courses are available or are open for registration. And for anyone who would like to connect and keep in touch, you can actually find my LinkedIn details at the bottom of this slide. So it's basically just LinkedIn slash my first name hyphen my last name. Yeah. So I would like to once again say a big thank you to everyone who have taken time off your busy schedule and joining us on this webinar today. We will now maybe take a short break and then move into the Q&A session to answer and address some of the questions that you might have posted. So thank you.
Daishan, how long will your break be?
Yeah, so I think now is 3:05. Maybe I propose we can take a 10 minutes break, come back at 3:15 as we go through some of the Q&A questions, and then we can talk about it after that.
All right, thank you so much. So everybody, let's go for a quick 10 minutes break. And meanwhile, on screen, you'll be able to see some QR codes for you to scan to find out more about the AI courses, as well as our very own NTUC union members. You've got some special privileges, so be sure to check that out, all right? Meanwhile, we'll see you in 10 minutes time. Thank you. Enjoy yourselves. Hi, Zaishan, are you back? All right.
Hi, Karine, I am.
Okay, great. Okay, I think we've got quite a few learners all coming back, and we've got quite a lot of questions for you. So we'll need you to answer them accordingly, please. Meanwhile, I understand that some of you have also asked some questions about the courses. Just give us a bit of time. We're also on the back end trying to get our admin to help answer all of your queries, okay? So meanwhile, Zaishan, the stage is yours.
Okay, thanks, Karine. And thanks to everyone for sort of putting up some of those questions. I think those are very interesting, and I will try to attempt to sort of answer some of those group of questions. So I think there is one group of questions about what is the background required, and do you need sort of any prior AI background, any programming background, and so on. So for this course, it's actually meant to be an introductory course and meant to be giving you an overview, while probably giving you enough to really be able to sort of work on some of the applications. So the short answer is no. You do not need to have sort of a prior background. If you have some, that would be great. But if not, there's no coding experience required. There's no AI and machine learning kind of experience prior to it. Instead, we see this course really being able to give you, it's almost like going to a buffet spread where you can see, get a taste of a lot of the sort of relevant technologies today, get a bit of a hands-on experience. And after that, I think then you can decide where is the best or what might be more relevant for you to go into a deeper dive. And I think related to this also, there was another question to ask, hey, is this course sufficient, or will this course sort of be enough for me to then work in the industry of AI and machine learning, for example? So unfortunately, I think the answer to this is it depends, and most of the time, no. So the reason why I would say this is depends is really about sort of your current experience. So for example, if you are already sort of already learning on AI, ML, you have a lot of the sort of knowledge beforehand, before coming to the course. And this course, you are just adding a little bit more industry experience and expertise, then most likely I think you will be a good place to start. But if you are expecting after attending just a 5 days course to then be able to effectively, of course, I think through the labs, you will be able to build some solutions. But to really go into that industry, then I think we need to see a lot more on, I think you need to examine a lot more on where are the other gaps or in the roles are compared to your experience, and fill that gap. Yeah. So I think this course is also sort of meant to be an overview or that introduction. So it will be unlikely that just from these 5 days content, or in general, right, it will be very unlikely that you can go from a 5 days course content and be going from somebody with no background to somebody who is an expert. Even for myself in the field, and I've been learning for maybe 3 to 4 years now, I constantly still I'm catching up with the times, with the latest technologies and with new sections, because there will always be new things to learn, and there will based on the demands, there will be new areas to sort of examine them. Yeah. So I think there was also the question about whether okay, I think there was a question about what is the sort of what is the recommendations on going into the field of AI and ML, and whether sort of a Python kind of a programming is required, or what will be the programming language of choice. So I would say this really depends, and I think that's where I will find that strategy of first taking a step back, trying to understand where you would like to go compared to your current skills and expertise, and then you add on to it. So for my own experience, I find Python sort of one of the most popular language. It's also something that I'm learning to be effective in my jobs, and it's very versatile. But I would say keeping that in mind, it really depends from situation to situation and where you need to best plug into. So I have also known a lot of clients and a lot of companies, they are using R programming, for example. And if you want to take up one of those roles, R programming will be sort of maybe more relevant for you. And on the other hand, I think like what we have shared, if you look at some of the cloud sort of technologies today, like IBM Cloud, or even, for example, Google and Amazon Web Services, there is already a lot of matured kind of products. And there is even this exciting a field or product called Auto ML. So basically, you will just feed you will just feed sort of the data into the Auto ML system, and it will be able to do the machine learning for you automatically. Yeah. So it's technologies like that. Then it will depend on what do you really sort of want to go into. And yeah. So I have a slide. I think Corinne, is it okay for me to share my slide and then pass it back to you?
Sure. Just give us at the back end to handle it.
Okay.
So meanwhile, everybody, I understand that some of you have posed your questions in the chat function. Some of you have posted under the Q&A function. So in case we missed it out in the chat function, could you just copy and paste it over to Q&A, please? Because the chat function keeps moving. It can be a bit difficult for us to keep track. All right, Taisha, you can share now.
Okay, sure. Yeah, give me 1 second.
Sure. Meanwhile, everybody, do stay all the way till the end because we do have a survey, and 2 of you who complete the survey will get to win some vouchers. Session, all good?
Yeah. So
All
I'm
right.
just sharing my screen. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. Okay. So this is Auto ML, and it's also one of the labs that we have. And you can see this is basically the data set. There is 828 observations, and typically these are just sort of the data that we are feeding in. So this is a typical sort of a banking kind of application where you have sort of different cases, and then you will have the various attributes. So like gender, whether they are married or not, all the way to what kind of a location are they staying on. And eventually, like for the training, you will pass it sort of identification based on your based on the bank's experience, whether this person is at a risk or not risk of committing a fraud. So I just want to show like the possibilities of some of the tools today. And if you just want to sort of be able more of apply machine learning, actually this no coding is required at all. So for this Auto ML course, I mean Auto ML sort of a functionality, you can see automatically sort of the machine will do sort of the data pre-processing. It will apply different kind of machine learning techniques, machine learning algorithms. Then it will predict which algorithm is the best together with what kind of sort of feature engineering will be useful for that. And then at the end of it, if you pass a new data set, so say this is a new person that goes to the bank, then that machine learning model, which has already learned, will be able to then sort of identify whether there was a fraud risk or not. And it can also give that confidence level. So this is also one of the labs in artificial intelligence course that we will be covering. So I would say, then go back to the question. This was a longer way to answer the question, but it really depends. And a lot of times today, the tools are very mature. So if you are really looking for, say, solving a solution, or apply solving a solution using machine learning or AI tools, even for myself, I recommend to use more of these mature tools first. And if cannot, then start to go deeper. Instead of spending a lot of time from that cryptic coding, where you might not be able to get as much results. But if you are a very technical person, or that is where your field is, for example, if you want to be a machine learning engineer, then definitely you need to learn the specific kind of a set of tools and toolkit. But if you need to just apply machine learning for your business, or for your business, or as an output, more from a business level, this is where I would recommend to really leverage all these pre-built tools. One, you'll be very fast. You can also learn along the way, and then find the gaps, and you can be more focused into the areas that you want to cover. So yeah, Corinne, I have done with that sharing. So maybe over to your side back to share that screen.